At the end of the day, nobody knows your child better than you do.
Today we are diving into the ish we need to stop saying to moms, as well as my current quick mommy makeup routine. Throw some face on, feel much more put together, aligning with our inner goddess. And before we jump into this video, I want to remind you, however you parent is right for you. There's not one way to do things. We're gonna jump into it, but some people really want to shit on gentle parenting. So if it's not your journey, baby, I love that for you. And if it is your journey, girl, I feel you in how hard it is. So let's jump into it. Let's go.
I just threw my hair up. We have very short amount of time to get ready. Let's dive into it, sisters. So, Charlotte Tilbury, what is this even called? Flawless Filter. I originally bought this for labor, so I honestly probably had it way too long. And the more that I dive into the world of motherhood, the more that I show up on the Spiritual Hot Mom Shit podcast, talk to my friends, have all my mom friends now, and even talking to you guys in the comments here. The shit that people say to mothers is so out of pocket. The shit that people say to mothers is so out of pocket. And it just like never gets less funny to me. And genuinely how I go about it now is I have to laugh. Otherwise I will absolutely lose my marbles. So I think that, you know, it really does start in pregnancy of people all of a sudden, well, not in America, all of a sudden wanting to have a say about your body. But really, like, we think about it in the fact of so many people have so much to say, like the pregnancy police, as I call them, and even the motherhood mafia. At the end of the day, nobody knows your child better than you do. At the end of the day, nobody knows your child better than you do. And this innate wisdom that we have as mothers, baby, we're here to recognize her, honor her, and love her. The transition from maiden to mother in American culture, at least, is fucking lost. Is so lost. And you guys will have to tell me what you think. But I mean, perfect example, like so many people don't start taking maternity leave until they're basically 40 weeks pregnant and the baby's gonna bust out that kitty cat any day. You know what I mean? So thinking about it in the sense, and you know, I just published the podcast interview with my dear friend Sam Oscarell. We did a whole Spiritual Hot Mom Shit podcast episode. She talks about toddler life, money, the reality of being a working mom, and especially in our industry. There's so much goodness. Let's fix this lighting. There is so much goodness in that podcast that y'all will have to go listen to. Also, I used to be a Shape Tape girly, but this is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, and I really like her. I am in the shade Fair Warm. Honestly, maybe not my color, but we're gonna move through it. So, yeah, I feel like pregnancy really starts it, where so many people out of left field come with so many opinions about your body and what you should be doing. And now that we are in the arena of real gentle parenting, you know, Lala girl, baby shrimp is starting to walk now. She's getting a voice, she's speaking, all these things. Like, gentle parenting is so much more than just how you react to your child. Gentle parenting is so much more than just how you react to your child and how you show up to your child. Because in all actuality, here's what I have realized, and I don't think we're talking about this enough, but gentle parenting feels so hard for our generation because one, most of us were not brought up with gentle parents. Two, most of us were brought up in arenas of go to your room, and when you can talk like a big girl, you can come out. We were little people who didn't know how to handle big feelings. Most of us now, when we have a child like having a quote unquote tantrum or feeling big feelings, it's like we don't even allow ourselves to feel big feelings, and it feels almost like overwhelming and triggering for this little human to be looking to you for all their feelings, and you're like, girl, I'm new to this too. And the emotional regulation that we assume children to have from the get-go, baby, I'm almost 30 years old and I'm still figuring it out, you know? I speak to my partner, how I speak to our pets, how I speak to my friends, how I interact with people in front of my daughter is also a part of gentle parenting that's not covered enough. Gentle parenting is not just how you speak to your child. Gentle parenting is how you show up as a person in front of your child, letting your child see that they can be who they want to be, that you are leading with love, and that you are a safe zone for them. If you are always snapping at your partner, snapping at the dog, you know, yelling at the dog, throwing them outside, you know, yelling at your partner, which none of us are perfect. There's going to be days and moments where, you know, we're at our breaking point. But my point is, majority of the time, because nobody's perfect, we have to look at how we're reacting and responding in our day-to-day life, because we can be the perfect gentle parent and always, you know, take a breath and be very zen and the whole 9 yards. But in all actuality, we're only that way with our child, and then our child is seeing us be so reactive and harsh and sharp with everyone else. You can't tell me that subconsciously our child is not going to think that, okay, one day mommy's gonna snap on me next. And that's the tea. And maybe that's just like the spiritual hot mom within me, but the energy of it all matters more than anything to me. The energy of it all, the energy of how we show up in the day-to-day life, of trying to take a breath and remind ourselves that the same way we're trying to reparent ourselves, most millennials are, like, we have to give our child grace of like they're figuring out how to operate as a human, the same way we like want to give ourselves grace of figuring out how to be a mom. And then the hardest part is remembering that our partner, you know, whether we're with them or not, they're figuring out how to be a dad too. And not only that dynamic, we're figuring out how to be in love and in partnership while being parents. This idea that, you know, we'll just have it all figured out in one day and there's going to be a perfect schedule and a perfect routine is this idea of illusion. And then you have sleep training Instagram accounts. Too far? Never mind. We'll stop there. This idea that everyone has, you know, the say, and if there's anything you take away from the podcast, from my videos, whatever it may be, please remind yourself that you know better for your child than most. You know better for your child than most. And if you feel that not to be true, then it's time to start creating more sacred space in our life for our children, which feels hard, right? One of my last videos was about how, you know, it doesn't really feel as if like the world is really set up to be a mother. And that's true. And that's not even just in the States, which I know a lot of people think that I was hinting at about healthcare in the US and things like that. Girl, it's not just that. It's not just that. It's our deep innate like obsession with hustle culture. It's our deep innate like feeling. I mean, our world is like so expensive right now. You kind of have to have two incomes. So then whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a working mom, you feel like you're never doing enough. If you're a full-time working out of the house mom, you feel like you're not seeing your kid enough. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you're being told that you're not contributing to the household, as if like raising this next generation, raising your children is not important. So if you've ever felt that way, baby, it's important. You matter. You are contributing. You know what I mean? I don't have a lot going on today, so we're not like going too crazy. I just need to look like alive and somewhat put together. You know what I mean? So how are we looking? Oh, she is shiny. She is bright. She's a little too bronze on the forehead, but honestly, whatever. Where's that brush I used for my foundation? This is what it is. We just, cool. It's like it never happened. Never happened. So these are just things I think about on the daily. Honestly, these are things I just think about on the daily. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light Wand High Blush in Peachgasm. I saw my friend Sarah Elizabeth talking about this. And I was like, girl, do I need it? She said, it's pretty good. I said, okay, I trust you. And I just use it as a blush because I'm that fair. But I really have been thinking about this, about how so many people tell you how to mother, and then like how much is that life anyway? But if you're not even a mom, people are always telling you.
We are now moving to an iPhone. Does lo-fi mean low quality? Whenever I see ASMR lo-fi videos, I'm like, oh, like it's filmed on their phone. I don't think that's actually what it means, but we're just on my phone now. My camera died. So we put a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury blush. Okay, we did that. It was phenomenal. We loved her. But something else that I really hear is like, you know, we choose to co-sleep. I'm a scrunchy-ish mom, I guess, if you wanted to categorize me. We choose to co-sleep. I would have chose to exclusively breastfed. I had to use formula just for how the mission worked out. And if you're new, I tried to exclusively pump. She was not into latching, no matter like what we did, where we went, who we tried. So anywho, we, you know, did that. And now that Miss Baby Shrimp is almost 10 months old, her napping has gone down to about 2 naps a day. Her first nap is about an hour and a half. Her second nap is anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. And I let her lead. There is no forced schedule that she has to be on. It's kind of just like letting her lead a little bit. And that really has been what's worked for us. And what works for us really seems to piss off other people. And I just want to remind you that somebody can have a totally different opinion about what you should be doing with your child or what works for them, and you both can be right. You both can be right. Something that my partner and I say to each other a lot is I would rather be happy than right. We don't agree about everything. We don't agree about every single thing. Of course, we agree about most important things. But point being is that, you know, I've heard this a lot where it's like, well, you don't want to teach them bad habits. And that's normally referring to when she wants to contact nap, when she needs to be held, when I pick her up too much. And to anyone who's listening to this and feeling like you hear that a lot, when is it ever a negative thing for you to need your mother? When is it ever a negative thing to teach our children that we are there for them, that we will be there for them? And I think that, you know, we really are like expecting, again, our children to have this like emotional awareness before like they're even quote unquote ready to. And Lila is, I mean, I forget the word that the doctor used, but essentially like an advanced baby, right? Like she's pretty, she's pretty smart, she's pretty on the ball, which is cool. But with that being said, it's not as if like, oh, because you're a toddler now, like you got to figure it out yourself. Because you can walk now, you can figure it out yourself. Because, you know, you have interest in sleeping in your crib, oh, you can soothe yourself. For anyone who's watching this, who feels like you also hear this sort of thing where it's like you're essentially doing a bad job by comforting your child, hogwash. Realizing like, oh, I have some work to do around inner child healing. I have work to do on looking at my mother wound. And so many of us like are resistant to relationships to parents that hurt us because it feels almost as if like, how can we get past that? How can we move forward? And most parents of like the boomer parents are kind of in this space of like, nobody wants to admit what they like, that they did anything wrong. And I think that that is hard, right? Like it's hard to admit like, okay, maybe I took the wrong advice. And I think we're figuring out, honestly, that everything that somebody does has to be the best for them. And reminding ourselves that there's no such thing as a perfect parent. And at the end of the day, as long as you do your best and you do what feels right for you and your child, that is what matters. I'm using the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes mascara. I feel like we like gave this up for a while. I was using the Ilia mascara, which I do enjoy. I just like, I pulled this out the other day and I was like, why did we leave her? Why did we abandon her? So, you know, I keep hearing things and reading comments where it's like, oh, well, you're gonna teach her bad habits about like contact napping or co-sleeping, and just like STFU. My daughter needing me is never a bad habit. And I think that that's why so many of us now like really struggle to communicate with our parents when we're needing something, really struggle to communicate even with our partners when we're needing something, and feeling as if it's wrong to ask for help, feeling as if it's wrong to, you know, ask for what you're needing and really like express your feelings. Like I can't be the only one, even to this day, and I've done so much shadow work, so much healing work, that even now to this day, when I it's like genuinely within the past maybe month or two that when I feel the need to cry, I let myself cry and I move through it. I communicate about it, I talk about it. And honestly, for my grandparents, like, you know, they're like, well, I feel like you cry a lot. And I was like, honestly, I do. But it's never, I think we have this feeling as if like, if we're crying, it's bad and awful and worst case scenario. And sometimes for me, being a Scorpio moon, like, I just feel pretty deeply. I feel pretty deeply and I can move through it deeply. But I'm also someone who like, I cry when I'm happy. I cry when like, you know, I feel things a lot. I don't know. So if you're like an extra sensitive feeler person, I don't think it's a bad thing. And, you know, that's been like a really beautiful gift to like witness and mirror in my daughter of like babies and children feel their feelings so deeply without judgment. And that has been so beautiful to witness. And this energy that we see online of when people are super annoyed and triggered by mothers and like babies in public, where it's like, oh, tell your kid to be quiet, or oh, stop them from crying. Like, my baby is not going to be silenced just because you are bothered by the emotion. You know, all moms feel that. And I think that until you are a mom, you don't realize that like it's already stressful enough to feel kind of nervous going into public, like wondering if like they're gonna be okay and hold it together. But that stress and that worry comes from shame. That stress and that worry comes from strangers not wanting to judge you, from your child like feeling their shit, right? And gentle parenting is always really interesting in person, like in real situations when you're out in public, because of course like you have the reaction where you just kind of want to shut it down quickly because you're feeling like shame and embarrassment, when that's when, you know, you got to stick to your guns and be like, it's fine, we're moving through it, all is well. And I feel like people have this idea that with gentle parenting, it has to be so, what's the word? Like it's so, like gentle parenting is not just basically letting children do whatever they want, but it's like really honoring how they're feeling in the moment and letting yourself kind of reflect on it. I think everyone's take of gentle parenting gets to be different. And if you don't want to be a gentle parent, that is your prerogative and that is your journey. And I support you in that. In the same way where it's almost like we want to feel really safe and seen in our emotions. The biggest thing that shifted my reality in motherhood is one, releasing the idea of perfection. Like nobody's ever going to be a perfect parent. There's no such thing. So not only like really releasing this idea of illusion of perfection, but then also just being like, none of us feel as if we have it figured out. None of us feel as if we have it figured out. And on the episode with Sam, we were talking about, advice for other moms. And she kept saying where she was like, well, I don't have it fully figured out. And this is just working right now. And I loved that because that is like the truth. That is the truth. Like nobody has it figured out 100% of the time. In all reality, it is like this energy and this idea of, well, this is just what's working now. Thing too is like it feels like we're almost like we're rushing through the motions, and then we feel as if we're living in autopilot, and we feel as if our life is so mundane, and we feel like we're just like going through the motions. And this is where I'm always saying like turning the mundane into magic. Like so many accounts I see online are just like shitting about doing the same thing every day or being the default parent. And it's like, well, where can I fucking enjoy this more? If this is my reality, like where can I enjoy this more? Where can I ask for help more? Like where can I just show up for myself the way that I want others to show up for me? And I know that it's different for everyone. And again, it has to be what's best for you and your family. But telling women that, they're doing it wrong essentially because it's just different than how you are doing it is also wrong. I want to remind people that your parenting styles get to be different and you're both right. Your parenting styles get to be different and you're both right. There's not one way of doing things that is correct. There's not one spiritual hot mom path that is correct. There's not one way of communicating to your partner that is correct. I think as long as you are showing up with not talking while you're putting lip gloss on, I think as long as you are showing up with an open heart, an open mind, and trying to respond over react, you're doing enough. And in the moments where life is not feeling good and you're not feeling seen or supported and things aren't feeling good, finding help wherever you can, whether it's hiring help, whether it's calling a friend, whether it's, calling a family member, talking to your partner. I think that we need to feel safer in asking for help. And a lot of the time in our generation, being a millennial mom, a lot of us were brought up to kind of feel as if like help was not an option. So this was fun. This was quick. The lip gloss I used was the Lifter Gloss from Maybelline in the color Reef. And then I haven't been using powder recently and I'm pretty okay with that. This is the Rare Beauty Selena Gomez liquid highlighter in Enlighten. We love that. Yeah, I've just been keeping my makeup honestly super simple and I love that for us. This is the Ilia mascara I normally use. I don't know. I feel like whatever. So I love you all deeply. Let's go live our spiritual hot mom truth. Create a life we love, be someone we love. I love you guys deeply.